Chair of the Master Plan Committee. I'm going to turn this over to Danielle Kahn, who is representing Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, who are doing the professional work on this plan. Danielle's going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you, that we've got to move fast in our discussion and be concise in our reports, because there's a lot of ground to cover. And facilitators will have to keep that in mind, particularly when they're making their notes and when somebody's coming up to report. So I will turn it over to Danielle Kahn. And thank you for being here. This is the saving remnant we make up in quality for what we lack in quantity.
Thanks. That was Hank Barton. He's the chair of the Southampton Master Plan Committee. Is that better? Sorry, that was Hank Barton. He's the chair of the Southampton Master Plan Committee. And on behalf of the Southampton Master Plan Committee, I'd like to welcome you all to the second day of the visioning workshops for the Southampton Master Plan. You can see from this list here, hopefully you can kind of see it, the screen is a little washed out, that the Master Plan Committee has very diverse representation, number of citizens at large, members from the Board of Selectmen, Conservation Commission, Energy Committee, Highway and Water Department, Historical Commission, Housing Authority, Parks Commission, Planning Board, School Committee, Library, local business owners. So we have a very good group of people who've been working on this, and they've been working really hard to make this happen. So welcome. So day one, that was Thursday, we had an opening night and we talked about opportunities and constraints for the town. And we did a visioning exercise, and I will quickly go through what happened on day one for those of you who weren't here, and a quick summary for those of you who were, might just quickly review. And then today, that's where we are here, where the arrow is the major topics day. So the format for today is that there will be very short presentations, 7 8-minute presentations with a couple of minutes for questions. There are questions about the content that you saw, not comments. And then we'll turn to our tables, and then we'll have small group discussions for about 25 minutes after each set of presentations. And then, like the first day, we'll do report backs, where you'll pick one person from your table who will summarize the 3 key points that you discussed. So not everything you discussed, but very quickly you'll have about 2 minutes to summarize, 2 to 3 minutes to summarize what you talked about. And we'll do that 3 times for 3 sets of topics. Land use, transportation, and housing will be the first set of topics. Open space, agriculture, cultural, and historic resources will be the second set. And then public services, infrastructure, and economic development. And then the third day of the workshops, I'll talk a little bit more about that later at the end, but we'll go through all of our workshop results at that time, and then we'll talk about future growth scenarios and look at some key areas in town, the Village Center and the Route 10 corridor. So for those of you who've listened to that twice, thank you, but just want to keep a perspective on the larger schedule. So what did we do on day one? We talked about what a master plan is. It's a blueprint for the future, describing the long-term vision and how we can achieve it. And it's something that guides zoning changes, capital improvements budgeting, decision-making by the town, and so on. The visioning workshops are an opportunity in the master planning process for the community to come together to discuss the future of the town. And the input that we collect at these workshops is used directly in developing the master plan as the committee works on that for the next couple of years. As I mentioned, it's a small group discussion format with short report back presentations. And you can expect challenging, respectful discussion about the town's future. So what did we hear the first night? Here, we got some really great visioning statements from the table. So I'm just going to quickly read the ones that I have, and so you can kind of get the flavor for those of you who weren't here. One group said, in 2030, Southampton is a community that is open, rural, with a village center, receptive to technologies, but with guarded, diverse growth to maintain character and promote volunteerism. Another group said that Southampton is a community in 2030 that cares for its citizens, promotes proactive business development, maintains its rural character, makes use of available federal and state resources, is environmentally friendly. It's a place where one would love to spend his or her life. Another group, it's a welcoming, caring, thriving community for all ages with a planned village center that provides community, cultural, and commercial amenities. Southampton honors and preserves its past through historic preservation and open space and agricultural protection. It retains the personality of a small New England town through smarter zoning and planning, preservation of open space, and lower population growth. This town provides expanded services to the entire community, including passive recreation, meeting spaces, and programs for all ages. In 2030, Southampton is a community that uses its passion for land stewardship to foster a close-knit, excuse the typo, and vibrant community, while hewing to its New England character and a commitment to sustainability. And finally, in 2030, Southampton is a community that will retain its rural character while promoting small local businesses and will have a vibrant village center, welcoming people of all ages. Southampton will have a well-planned pedestrian and trail system and will remain fiscally responsible using smart growth principles to achieve a strong community spirit. So good job for those of you who worked on them. I thought those were really nice. We also talked about opportunities and constraints on day one. And here's just a quick summary of some of the things that came up multiple times. Friendly, open people. We like the community feel and involvement. We like the people that we live with here in town. We like the fact that it's rural, safe, open, quiet. There's scenic views. We see a lot of farmsteads. There are few commercial centers. We also like it because it's a good place to raise children, has good schools, activities for children, has a village center with a church. Saw a few of those. Historic homes. We like the nature, open space, wildlife, nature, protected lands, clean air and water. A few groups specifically mentioned Conant Park and walking trails as well in town. And then another thing that we heard over and over was proximity to everything, malls, larger communities and their resources, local colleges, major roads. Some dislikes or concerns that we heard: not enough sidewalks or places to bicycle, unchecked growth, especially housing development, few groups noted no sewers, housing affordability is a concern, development not conforming with local character in the town politics, few people noted lack of citizen participation or transparency, lack of a walkable town center came up once or twice, trucks, growing traffic, speeding, lack of traffic calming, loss of farms, historic preservation, land management, that was just general concerns. Lack of community gathering spaces came up, I think, in about 3 groups, maybe 4. Need for more active and passive recreation opportunities. Taxes obviously came up a number of times, and services and the balance between them. Route 10 could look like Route 9 in Hadley. Specifically, that statement came up 2 or 3 times. And incompatible signs we heard once, and then protection of wildlife and water quality as concerns for the future. Future opportunities, rural character, agricultural past, rich history, so building on what we have. Historic and open space preservation, affordable, diverse housing, good expanded services, schools, public safety, sewer, library. Vibrant, thriving village center came up in several groups. Better communication with local government. Bike path, rail trail came up a number of times. River walk along the Manhan River. And we're going to be talking about open space in more detail here. So these are some ideas and food for thought. Passive recreation, access at Ty Carmody Reservoir, redesign and expand Conant Park, local employment growth, planned balanced growth with design guidelines, and last but not least, this master planning process is an opportunity for the future. And so, as I already said, we're going to be covering these 3 sets of topics today, and the basic format is these discussions with short report backs. And without further delay, I'm going to hand it off to Jane Armington, who works at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission with me, and she's going to talk about the first group of topics. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. So I'm going to kick it off with a brief summary on trends, characteristics, and existing conditions related to land use, housing, mobility, and basic demographics. Hopefully everyone can see this well. So Southampton is a growing community. That won't come as a surprise to probably anyone here, but I'm going to just talk a little bit about how much it's grown. Since 1990 to 2009, the town has added 1,500 residents approximately, which is about 30% growth over that time frame. Over the last decade, the town has issued 400 building permits, and the town now has a population of around 5,935 residents. There are now around 2,300 households in Southampton, and these households live in a variety of household sizes. Southampton is not just a town that has 2 parents and 2 kids. Over 50% of the households in town are either 1 household families or 2 household families. Southampton has grown to become one of the more affluent towns in the Pioneer Valley. The estimated median household income in the year 2008 was $78,000, which was higher than the neighboring communities around Southampton. It was much higher than the median household income for the Pioneer Valley, which was around $51,000. But it's important to keep in mind that not all households in Southampton are affluent. Almost 20% of all households in Southampton earn less than $35,000 a year. Over 20% of all elderly households in Southampton earn less than $35,000 a year. And a little over 10% of students that attend the William Norris Elementary School are low income, or considered low income students, or from low income families. This is a map that shows Southampton's zoning districts. The different colors represent various areas in town where certain uses are allowed or disallowed. And municipal zoning authority has an important influence over housing and land use patterns. Zoning regulations determine location, size, and type of residential, commercial, or industrial uses. For example, the residential rural zoning district, which is, see that purple area over there, it's the area underneath it and alongside. The residential rural zoning district counts for over 60% of all land in Southampton, and for that district you have to have over 1 1/3 acres in order to build a single family home. And by contrast, the bright yellow area, you have to have 1/2 of an acre to build a single family house. Zoning and market trends influence land use patterns, as I just said. And this represents or portrays changes in land use in Southampton between 1971 and the year 2005. Over this time frame, the town went from being 8% developed to 13% developed. And the greatest losses in developed land came as a result from changes in land use, forest, pasture, active agriculture. This is shown in acres, so not percentage. In these areas, you lost that type of land use, and what you gained was residential lots greater than 1/2 acre, and that was 701 acres gained in that. That was the most substantial category. So what kind of housing is in town now based on land use patterns and demographic changes that has happened over the past couple decades? Well, Southampton is a town mostly of single-family homes. Most of the houses are owner-occupied. 85% of the houses are owner-occupied. 13% are renter-occupied. The town has seen some growth in its condos. And the town's housing stock is quite young when compared to the Pioneer Valley. Almost 30% of all houses were built after 1990. And then the chart to your right, which is kind of leading off, shows the different types of housing structures by parcel, so not to be confused with by type of unit, but there's 5 apartment complexes in town. There's a couple parcels that have 3 or 2 family homes, and again, it shows that the single family homes is the most predominant land use in town. Southampton has become also one of the more unaffordable communities in the Pioneer Valley. The average assessed value, or the average home value in the year 2009 was $276,000 about. The median sale price for a single family home was $10,000 less than that, so it was around $267,000. So how much money do you need to buy a house at the median sale price? This is just to give you a quick snapshot. Using the average teacher's salary for, I think it was the year 2008, if you were to earn $48,636, and that's what you're supporting your household on, you'd be able to afford a house at around $172,000. But that would not most likely be able to get you a house in Southampton, where the average sale price, median sale price, was $267,500. And to buy a house at that price, you need an income of around $75,000, which is close to the median household income in Southampton. So showing again that half the households will be able to afford that right now, the other half wouldn't. I'm going to move on to transportation characteristics. There are few to limited alternatives to outside of auto travel. And there's limited sidewalks, we all know that, and limited public transit service. The only public transit service stop happens at the Big Y, and it's I always mispronounce the name, it's the National Wanna, I believe, shuttle that comes from Easthampton. There is a van provided by the Council on Aging, though, that's available to elderly residents. But the only PBTA bus stop is at Big Y. And it was interesting, we asked some questions about transportation and sidewalks, and it shows so far that a lot of people in Southampton, they may like the idea of public transit, but are not necessarily willing to support it at this time. That's what the survey results showed. So that's a topic for discussion today. The survey also showed that there was support for sidewalks, although it wasn't an overwhelming support for sidewalks. And I think we've heard today, in prior events that we've done, that also seems to be an issue that people enjoy talking about, issue of sidewalks. And one of the other findings we saw through some data analysis is that people in Southampton, well, 80% of the residents work outside of town, and the chart to your right shows where they go. This is based on 2000 census results, but by looking at these towns, you can guess that people are driving these towns along the same routes. So that leads us to conclude that there is some opportunity, or there will be opportunity for pushing ride sharing in town or carpooling. But again, when we looked at the survey results, residents in town didn't seem as supportive of that type of initiative. So that's something to think about. The data shows that there is room to support that, but are residents in town willing to support that? So these are questions and food for thought, and that's the conclusion of, again, my brief summary on housing, land use, demographic, and transportation trends and characteristics. Am I taking questions now?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for me? Yeah.
Is the data here available online?
Yes. And also, most of the data you're seeing here is available I just helped the Housing Authority in the town of Southampton do a housing needs assessment. So it's about an 80-page report. There's a draft copy, there's I think 2 draft copies back there, and I forget to leave them here, but it's available. It's going to be publicly available soon. I'm looking at BJ because I worked with him at Hank Barton on it. It should be available online soon as well. But yes, the data is all available. It's mostly from census data, projections from census data, and then assessors data, which is publicly available also at the town hall.